Hello, hello, creatives. So good to see you. I know that it's been a kind of a gap in between episodes, but I think that what I'm going to talk about today has a lot to do with why I just haven't gotten around to be able to record another episode and trying to be a little bit easy on myself because I have a lot going on. And it really prompted me to think about what comes up when I feel like my creative energy is being pulled in different directions. So that's going to be the topic for today, is what happens when our creative energy gets pulled and or we find ourselves sort of just creatively dulled out or just blocked, or nothing's really inspiring us or nothing's really coming up that feels like it is capturing our creative juices, right? Because I think what happens is when we have a lot going on in our life, and I'm going to go a little bit more into what that looks like, sometimes our creative energy gets spread out. And what I believe is that I'm starting to realize that creative energy kind of has a limit to it. Creative juices, if you want to call it creative inspiration or the muse or creative flow, seems to have a limit, and it can get tapped out, in other words. And what I've been thinking recently is that, and I've known this for some time, but it's become a little bit more clear recently for me, is that when you are in a situation where creative energy or your creative ideas or creative decision making is being pulled in another direction, in another area in your life, sometimes when you get down to creating your own art, or maybe you're finally sitting down to even create a podcast episode or to write or whatever creative avenue that is your usual creating, when it comes time to sit down and do that, all of a sudden you feel completely not only dulled out but dried out, like it's just completely emptied out. And that's kind of what I'm finding is happening for me, because right now I'm working on a construction of my art studio, and any construction project requires a lot of decision making, and specifically creative decision making. For many of you who have been through a construction project, you can understand this. It can be down to what light fixtures are you going to put in? Where are you going to place the outlets? Where are you going to place the lighting? What kind of front door you want? What is the wall? What is the color of the paint that you're going to use for your walls? So those are just examples of creative decision making. Now, it doesn't have to be necessarily a construction project. You might have a renovation in your kitchen, a simple renovation of your bathroom. You will embark on various decision making. And then it doesn't necessarily only asks or requires your creativity. You have to do some research about that. And that is all part of the creative process, is going online and looking for ideas and examples and what you like and what you don't like and what you want to incorporate, right? So you go online to do research, and then you can go down the rabbit hole of, ooh, that's kind of cool. I want to do that on the deck, or I want to do that in the landscaping, or I want to paint one wall with a mural, which is another idea I have, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do that. But you get the idea, right? It's like you get all these interesting, fun ideas happening when you are in the middle of a project, that sometimes what happens is that you don't realize that the barometer, maybe you started on a full tank and now the barometer or the level is starting to diminish because a lot of your creative energy is being pulled in that direction, and now you don't have a lot of creative energy to write or to create art, or even, and I'm talking even the simplest thing as art journaling. The other day I thought, you know what, it'd be fun to work on my fabric vessels. I haven't done that in a while. So I pull everything out and I sit there and I find myself, and you maybe can relate to this, I just have no energy left. I don't feel motivated. I don't feel inspired. I don't have that creative energy that just kind of fills me up, and I can't wait to execute something or to explore something, whether that's a new technique or whatever it is. And the motivation, the mojo is just not there. And I think that's because my creative energy is being pulled in many different directions right now. It's not just the construction of my studio, it's also, I just completed a 6-week course where I was creating content for that course. And I was also really immersed in creating some new guided meditations, and I was excited about that process. I was also very connected to the content, connected to the process of creating this program for my audience, for those who signed up. I'm specifically talking about Art is My Anchor, or Art is Your Anchor. And then when I came out of that, and this is pretty typical, and I'm sure a lot of you really experience this, I come out of that and I feel a little bit energetically depleted. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that, and this is what I know from my own experience, and I'll mention some other examples. My own experience with the creative process is that it'll incubate, and then it gets energized. It almost starts revving up for the execution of the project. And then you're in the project and you're immersed in it and you're doing it. And you're re-energized while you're immersed in the process of doing it. And then all of a sudden, as you get closer and you're done, there's like this, that almost like you can just breathe, right? You can breathe, you can sort of take a deep breath of relief that it's over. But then there's a complete dip in your energy. And sometimes I've worked with clients when I was working as a therapist. I've worked with musicians and writers and actors who have described this dip as almost like a re-incubation. So it's not just the fact that they've pushed out all this creative energy out to complete the project, but that now not only are they regrouping, but it's almost like a recuperating, right? It's a recuperating of that energy, replenishing of that energy, incubating new ideas for the next thing. So that whole process I consider is kind of a dip. And so I experienced a little bit of that after the 6-week program, which is normal for me, because I've also experienced that in the past when I'm getting ready for an art show or an art exhibit, and I am producing extra work to be shown. And not just that, I'm also doing the logistics of prepping up for a show, which requires finishing up a lot of pieces, making sure that they're ready to hang, a lot of logistic parts. All of that is part of the creative process and the energy, the creative energy that you're putting out. So, my point is, I'm kind of in that space right now. And I realize that I feel like, well, you know what? I feel a little empty. Maybe I should do a little bit of creative practice to just kind of recharge my battery. And then when I go to create something, I do feel dulled out. And what I think is normal for a lot of artists and a lot of creatives is that when you get to that place of feeling dulled out, a little bit of a panic can happen. Because as creatives, we always want to keep that creative energy up here at this level because we're energized and we're inspired, we're excited. And I know for me, sometimes when I'm in that mode, I almost feel like, wow, as I'm creating, my battery is being re-energized at the same time I'm pushing that energy out. So there's almost like this reciprocating process that goes on. And we like that, don't we? We love that. We feel like we can just keep creating forever. And the problem with that, and I know for me, is that I would forget my self-care during that time, and I would find myself creating for 10 hours without even taking a break or without, no, I can't do that anymore because now my body, because I've done that in the past, my body has suffered from it and I have all kinds of aches and pains now. So my aches and pains do tell me, you need to stop and you need to take a breath and you need to stretch or you need to continue this tomorrow. So what I'm talking about is I know a lot of creatives love to be at that creative alchemy, that sort of creative peak, so-called. And then also we feel so productive, right? We feel so productive during that time. And then we have this unrealistic expectation for it to keep going. And here's the thing, it doesn't last. That's the reality of it. It doesn't last. And it shouldn't last. Because we need to regroup. We need to almost digest everything that we've created. Because during that creative process, I know what happens is you're pulling, whether you're even channeling stuff from creative spirit or pulling information in order to feed that process of what you're creating in that moment. And it could be research, it could be exploration for a new technique that you want to figure out how to problem solve this one corner of the artwork, whatever it is. Or all of a sudden you hit a pivotal point in your manuscript, your novel, your short story, that you feel you need to pause and actually research, pull in new content and information. All of that means that you have new information that now you have to integrate and digest into your creative being. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I feel like because I'm familiar with this, I try to give myself permission to chill out. Now, I had a client once who told me after he did a concert, he's a professional musician, after he did a concert, or if maybe their band was on the road for some time, when he would get back to his home, when it was done, he would literally lock himself up in his home to binge watch. And I get it. And it's not that, you're just binge watching. It's the fact that you are recuperating and you're re-energizing in that moment. Or you're shutting off a part of your sort of, I guess it's the intellectual linear brain of the doing part, right? Because you do integrate that during the moments. And what you're doing is you are actually shutting it down so that you can re-energize. So I guess what I want to say in this episode is consider that when you have reached kind of a flat line in your creativity, kind of reassess what's going on. What areas of your life are pulling your creative energy? And if that is the case, if you're working on some kind of project, preparing for a show, trying to finish the last remaining edits of a novel or a book or whatever it is, or you're coming down from something, some big creative explosion of energy, really recognize that you're going through that, and really recognize that, you know what, my creative energy is going to be limited right now. And I want to consider where I'm going to place that creative energy. And also, I'm not going to place a lot of expectation on myself because I haven't played the guitar for some time, or I haven't sang for some time, or I haven't played in my art journal for some time, whatever it is. Give yourself a break, because I believe creative energy has a limit and a max, and you need to recognize when it's being maxed out or getting close to being maxed out, so that you can put into place in your life whatever you need to do to self-care, whatever you need to do to have that chill time and that re-energizing time. So that is something that I wanted to talk about, because not only because I'm at that place, but I think it also might be beneficial to you to think about if you're going through something that's actually pulling all of your creative energy or requiring to use all your creative energy, to recognize that there will be a low point, and that low point is only not a setback, not to mean, oh, I am all run out of ideas or creative ideas, or I'm not going to have the next big idea that I want to execute. That doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. It means that your body, your spirit, your creativity is asking for a recharge, a regroup, and a chill time, so that you can re-energize. And when you give yourself that chill time, downtime, that is when all the little seeds that have been planted during the creative process, or even prior to the creative process, is beginning to manifest and incubate and blossom and sprout. So think of it that way. And then that's also a reminder, as I share this stuff with you. It's a reminder to myself that I need to give myself permission to just kind of have some chill time. So that, having said all that, that's also part of why I've taken some time off from the podcast, because that does require more creative energy for me to put out. And sometimes I'm just not going to be able to get an episode in. So, and I'm going to give myself permission to be okay with that, because there will be times when I will have that creative energy going specifically to my podcast or to my writing. So I hope this was helpful to you, and I hope that you will consider this next time you find yourself in that sort of low energy lull in your creative process. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to my podcast. I appreciate all of you who have subscribed to my YouTube channel and have been following my podcast. Please let me know. I'm going to leave the comments open. Please let me know if this has been beneficial to you. You can follow me on Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook. I am now on Substack, which I am loving. So please go to my Substack and check that out as well. And I hope that you will follow me there. So take care and stay creative. Bye.